We've had a few coaching hires this week. We've had a few surprise firings. Like I said earlier in the lead, both in the NBA and the NFL. We can go ahead and start in the NFL since we've had the biggest news just most recently. Jim Harbaugh signing with the Chargers and becoming their head coach. He's leaving Michigan. What do you guys feel about that? Probably the coaching hire that everybody's been waiting on for really the past few years.
Yeah,
but Harbs and Herbert, man,
it's good to see Jim Harbaugh back in the league. It was fun. Like the run that he went on with the 49ers was fun. I know there's a lot to it as well, especially with Alex Smith and Kaepernick. I think that's probably the best spot for him. And I think he identified that pretty early. I really think it was just really Chargers or Michigan. And I feel like he made up his mind about Michigan. Like, he's done. I don't think he's going to go anywhere else but the Chargers. There's a lot of smoke to that. Been a lot of smoke. We were just waiting on the particulars to kind of iron out. It took longer than I expected. But I had a feeling this will always come. So I'm not surprised. I'm glad it's finally done. I can't wait to see what he does with that team. And like we said, Chris, that team has a lot of talent. They have to make a lot of decisions.
So we think.
I was just about to say they got a lot of decisions to make.
They have to make a lot of decisions, of course. But that's something that Jim is good at too. So we'll kind of see how it goes. But not mad at that hiring at all.
No, I think it's perfect. I think with the situation with Jim is one of the things where since he come in, even though he had obviously coached for the 49ers, but I feel like bringing him in from Michigan gives you I don't want to say the time, but it allows you to, start building up towards whatever you're trying to do. I feel like if they would have hired somebody like Bill Belichick, they would have needed to be doing something right now. Like, it needed to be tailor-made, ready to go. Like, but I feel like with them hiring Jim Harbaugh, that kind of put them in the perspective of, maybe next year we might not be where we want to be, but we could. I got a coach that I know going to build us towards that. And so, like we said earlier, it's going to be, they got decisions to make at receiver, Mike Williams, defensive decisions to make. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. But I think out of anybody, I think he can probably get them quicker to where they want to be and probably make next year very, very competitive.
It'll be interesting, especially in that division.
And that's what I was just about to say. It's very interesting not to slight or doubt Antonio Pierce, but now you're in a division with Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, and Sean Payton.
Yeah.
And being a first-time head coach, it's gonna be tough. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see where the Raiders go at quarterback as well, because you do have. Well, we don't know who the Broncos coach or quarterback is going to be next year. We know it's not going to be Russell Wilson. We assume that it's probably not going to be Jarrett Stidham either. But, it starts to get tough also for Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, because as different as Patrick Mahomes is, there's a day coming for Andy Reid in terms of when he's probably going to hang it up. At the end of he's getting older and older. There's going to be a time where he's hanging it up. Is that something that's coming sooner rather than later? Is it coming later rather than sooner? We don't know yet, but that will be interesting to watch and kind of see, because if you don't hire a great coach that goes along with it, and Jim Harbaugh is, maybe the best coach in that division, how things could tilt, it'd be very fascinating.
That's true.
But on top of that, we had the coordinator hires of Shane Waldron coming from Seattle, going over to Chicago, which in my opinion I did see some reports that said they kind of threw this in that when they were doing the interviews for OCs,
that Flus was speaking up for.
Yeah, even Flus was standing up for Justin Fields, which, if that had to be reported, that sounds more like agent speak, in my opinion, than anything.
It was just thrown in there too,
but
the parentheses.
That seems to be a good hire. I mean, he's obviously done a great job with Geno and Drew Lock over the past couple of years. So is that one that you guys liked, or were you guys looking for somebody more like a Cliff Kingsbury or somebody else?
I mean, that's from what I heard about potential replacements. There was Cliff, and then Zach Robinson, who was part of that McVay tree. I don't hate this at all. You know, I mean, any coordinator going in there, it's a great spot to be in. It's a great position to be in because you're either going to have pretty much your choice of quarterback, or you working with a very dynamic quarterback, which we don't know exactly who he is yet. You know, maybe you feel like, you know, you were confident enough to get enough out of him. We just don't know. But when you bring in a guy like Shane, and after what you've seen, what he did with Geno, it gives you a little bit of confidence if you're like a Bears fan. It gives you a little bit of confidence, like, okay, I can get behind this either direction they go. Because you can really, right now, you can go either direction and still like kind of feel all right about it. So,
no, I mean it's a good hire. I don't hate it. Like Cass said, it's one of them things where, you know, you got your choice. I mean, anybody love to be in that position. You know, you got the number one overall pick. So at this point, you already got a quarterback there. Could go get one. You could do what you want to do. And you can, and I'm pretty sure they talked about that extensively in his interview. So
yeah.
They hired him. They must like what they heard. But no, he
It's
did a
good,
great
yeah.
job with Geno. You know, so he maximized him more than what anybody else could have or have done. So
Yeah.
not bad.
Did you like it, Shot? How'd you feel about it?
I mean, yeah, I like it. I thought it was a great hire for them. I definitely was a little nervous about the Cliff Kingsbury because I'm not too sure about how Cliff Kingsbury is going to be as a play caller. So that's definitely a good step in the right direction. I'm interested to see because, you know, obviously Geno's not necessarily like, you know, he's not like a Caleb Williams type in terms of where he's scrambling out of the pocket, you know, trying to make plays off platform and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to kind of see, you know, what direction they do go with the quarterback position in terms of if we're looking at a Drake May or Caleb Williams. Obviously, we'll learn more as the draft comes along. And we're going to learn a lot more next week because the Senior Bowl starts next week as well. But with that being said, going back to the head coaches, we also saw Brian Callahan coming from the Bengals as their offensive coordinator and going over to Tennessee to be their head coach. We don't know necessarily how he's going to fill the staff at this point. There has been rumors that his father is going to come over from Cleveland, and the good job he's done over there to be their offensive line coach, maybe an associate head coach as well. Assistant head coach as well. But, you know, how do you guys feel about that hire?
This one, I maybe surprised a lot of people. I think the main thing is going from what you had to now, and then now that we're seeing a little bit more come out about what happened with Vrabel and how they just really wanted some more collaboration is how they put it, you know. So when you look at it like that, it's not surprising that they went with a first-time head coach after getting rid of Vrabel. It's just not. I mean, we'll see how it goes. You know, of course, he has a very rich list of quarterbacks that he's worked with in the past. Callahan has, which could bode well for a guy like Will Levis, who's trying to find his foot in the league. But I mean, it's kind of just all this is really up in the air for Tennessee, in my opinion, because they still have to fix the receiver room, you know, fix O-line play. It's a lot they have to still do on that offense before you can even see the fruits of this kind of signing, in my opinion. So he got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, he's one of them hires where it's like I couldn't give you my real thought about it until I see who he, you know, fills his staff with as far as OC and DC, because you just don't know. I mean, he's coming from the Bengals, but how much is one of the things, like how much was he, you know, involved as far as like the scheme?
Taylor was calling plays, so I mean, like,
right.
So
how much? That's one of the things where it's like, okay, well, you might have been. What was you actually doing? Like, what was your role in it? And you could say what your role might have been, but we don't know.
Setting up the game plan,
right? And so that's one of them. I don't have a problem with it because I see where they're transitioning to just a new ordeal in general in Tennessee. But it's still one of the things where I really want to know who is your OC, who is your DC.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at with it as well. Obviously, like you mentioned, he's worked with Matt Stafford, Peyton Manning, Joe Burrow, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, they're definitely in a rebuild, but we say that at this point, but we don't know what it's going to look like. Come the off season when some signings start to happen, trades start to happen, stuff like that. Everybody was saying the Colts and the Texans were in a rebuild, and we saw how those seasons turned out for both of those teams.
That's true.
In the same division, really. But yeah, I'm right there with Chris. It's going to be interesting to see how they fill out the rest of the staff. And it's funny we say that right after saying Jim Harbaugh, but we've seen Jim Harbaugh have success in this league and really success everywhere he's been, so it's a little different there. Yeah. But it's interesting. And thus far we haven't really had it's kind of been crickets on the coaching front. It's kind of just been a lot of thorough interview processes, which I think is kind of funny as a Colts fan, because last year when the Colts were going through their thorough interview process, I was a little stressed as a fan, but people were acting like the Colts can't hire anybody, nobody wants to go there, and all this nonsense. And then all of a sudden they come out with maybe the coaching hire that everybody thought was the best at the time, because obviously he's a OC, him and Ben Johnson. But I really do think that next week during the Senior Bowl, when everybody's kind of more around each other, all the executives around each other, we'll probably have all the rest of the breaking news. Obviously, it's in the middle of the Super Bowl weeks as well, so that gives a good opportunity to break some news ahead of this conference finals or conference championship. But of the remaining spots, who would you say are you guys? Obviously the Falcons is the Panthers are still open. Washington is still open. Seattle. Who do you guys think at this point is the most unknown in terms of where they're going to go?
For the most unknown, I would say Seattle,
in my opinion.
Because I haven't really heard, of course, early on, it was like a lot of the Dan Quinn, and they did have their interviews with them, but it's been a lot of radio silence on their front, too, which I say that, but obviously it seems like Washington is just waiting for this conference championship to be over so they can talk to their top candidates.
They can officially sign Ben Johnson.
Yeah, so obviously it's quiet on their front. But I feel like the Falcons have been like, it's been way too much shit out there, in my opinion. And it's been way too much like back and forth, like people don't really know what they're talking about, kind of shit. It's gotten kind of annoying, but you don't see the type of stuff with the Panthers and Seattle. So I would say Seattle would be the most unknown right now about like where to go, because you would think that it was DQ's job, but obviously it's not like that anymore. So I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, they could just be doing their due process and stuff like that. But I probably would say the Falcons, honestly, now that you said that, because I was going to go with the Panthers, but the Panthers did just sign a GM, so we could see things kind of move a little quickly for them.
They're interviewing Vrabel tomorrow, the Panthers are, and I think that's a great fit for them. I
don't know how he'll mesh with the ownership, but I also saw
that's true too, but
I also saw that Dave Canellis from the OC from the Bucks is a strong candidate there, and I actually think that I might like that because he also did a good job with Geno. Obviously, just did a good job with Baker Mayfield this past year. So I would be interested to see that just for Bryce Young. But the Falcons, honestly, because they put it on – the Falcons are in a tough position. They're in a tough position, and I've talked about it numerous times. They're in a position where it's no realistic path towards building a future today, or this offseason in terms of getting a quarterback in the draft or, getting up to one of those top 3 slots, top 4 slots. But they're also in a position where you put a GM in a lame duck situation because we have heard there's a little bit of a power structure between Rich McKay, Arthur Blank kind of making the decisions, where Terry Fontenot is just sounds like he's just along for the ride. Like he's like, hey, I got these questions that I want to ask. But it's kind of interesting because, we all thought at some point that it was looking like straight up Bill Belichick. Now we're hearing could be Bobby Slowick or, I think they interviewed Mike Vrabel today. Raheem Morris is supposed to, he was there before. And he's been interviewed twice at this point. So it's like, and then we're hearing the rumors about like, oh, if it is Bill Belichick, the reason that it hasn't been Bill Belichick at this point is because Rich McKay is there. And and it's like, well, why are we even talking about Rich McKay? What the hell is going on with Terry? What the hell is going on with that man?
Yeah.
And what is him and Bill Belichick? If it is Bill Belichick, what is that going to be like? So it's interesting, and I mean he has previous experience working with the Sean Payton, who comes from that similar type of cloth. So it might not be a big deal, but it's just interesting because it's just like you said, it's just a lot of stuff going on.
It's a lot going.
It's hard to, and I'm sure everybody whoever's making their pitches have probably been saying this year might be we got to ride it out with Ritter again, no cap, there's been the rumors. There's been the rumors of Kirk Cousins. I don't know how realistic that is either, because why would we've heard the rumors that the Vikings, that the reports, I guess, not rumors, whatever you want to call it, that the Vikings were definitely trying to give everything they could to get Anthony Richardson. Obviously that didn't happen. So once again, they're probably they're just like the Falcons, not in a position really to trade up either. So what's their quarterback path look like? It's tough. It's tough.
I'm honestly at this point, as a Falcons fan, I'm ready to get this shit over with. If it's gonna be Bill, let's get this. Let's pull the trigger. Bring in Josh. Bring in Matt Patricia. Like, we know it's gonna happen. And
I don't know if they're gonna bring in Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
Yo,
I don't know if they won't. You know what I mean? Is who else will be his DC? Who else will sign up to be Bill's
his
DC?
son?
We'll see if he comes with him. Yeah, we'll see.
If he stays,
unless he stays with the Patriots. But I'm just ready for this shit to be over, man. It's a lot going on. Which I will say, like, this is the most coverage that the Falcons have had in any offseason I can remember, and it's because of Bill Belichick and Jim Harbaugh, the interviews that they had with them, which is not a bad thing. It's probably was Arthur Blank's planning all along. So I'm ready for this shit to get over with, man. We got Bobby Sloat tomorrow coming in for his second interview, and we're hearing that they were very impressed with him at his first one. But again, you had your worries about it, him being, only having 1 year play calling experience. Yeah. Maybe these guys interview well. I don't know. I mean,
he can very well. It's not like he necessarily has to be he might not even be the play caller. At the end of the day, he might not be the play caller. He might hire somebody to take over the play call. He might hire a veteran. He might bring, So like we said earlier with the Callahan hire, we don't truly know until we see the rest of the coaching hires, the rest of how the power structure is going to be between who's going to be the play caller, who's going to be defensive coordinator, how is that relationship going to work? Are you just going to let the defense run the defense? And obviously we just had a release of another defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio, mutually parting ways with the Miami Dolphins. The assumption at this point is that they're going to the Eagles, or he's going to the Eagles and returning back to them after a year. But you never know. That was the assumption last year as well, in a sense that it could be him. And obviously he committed to Miami, so it was kind of made for kind of a tough situation. So his name's still on the board technically. Wink Martindale, his name's still on the board technically. The Falcons just lost their defensive coordinator and Ryan Nelson. That's he's going to the Jacksonville, and you would have liked to have seen maybe something be resolved by then, so that you could try to keep that continuity, especially having a great year a pretty good year last year. So I mean, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting.
It's like it's moving fast, but it's not. It's around them. I don't know. It's weird, man.
I think the Senior Bowl is going to be we might have a conclusion at the end of the Senior Bowl, because obviously if the Lions lose, that's another domino that's going to fall probably almost immediately. The Ravens defensive coordinator has been in some talks, but it doesn't sound like anything super strong with him. The Ravens OC as well, Monken. There's been some talks about him, and what a run he'd be on. Back-to-back championships with Georgia, and then possibly getting the Super Bowl in his first year back in the NFL.
That would be crazy.
Three years back-to-back, crazy run. But before we head to our weekly picks, we got to switch to the NBA. What a bombshell that we got yesterday.
Oh, man.
Adrian Griffin being fired from the Milwaukee Bucks. I think everybody probably expected if anybody was fired, it was probably going to be Darvin Ham, at this point.
Yeah.
And the Bucks are 30 and 14, 30 and 13 in the 2 seed in the East, tied for second or third best record in the NBA, and he gets fired mid-season, a la David Blatt. What do you guys think about that?
Nah, y'all gotta explain that to me, because I mean, I don't know. I mean,
he didn't even make it a full
they
season.
acting like, you know,
That's
I guess he just didn't mesh with the team. But I mean, you fire him to hire
Doc.
Your boy. That's your boy,
Glenn?
Chris. What you mean? That's your boy.
Glenn?
Yeah, I mean,
know.
I feel the same way. It was a bit shocking. I mean, we have seen it. We talked about it first in our season preview when Terry Stotts just out of nowhere, you know, quit or got released, or however you want to spin it. And that was always weird because it's like, like, okay, what's going on there? You know, like what's going on in the inner workings there? And then you see throughout the season, they're winning games. A lot of their games they're winning because they're outscoring people. A lot of games that they're losing, they're getting their ass whooped because they can't play any defense. We saw the Pacers hand it to them 4 times. Like we see some bad losses from this team, but all in all, they're still the second seed. So it's like, well, what the hell? But then you see a lot of reports came out today, like by Woj and Shams saying that, you know, that he lost the locker room pretty much from superstars down to even bench to even, you know, bench players,
crazy.
which is wild.
How do you lose the locker room and you didn't even make it to the All-Star break and you lost the locker room? Like you really had to be in there.
Yeah, even him. That shit is wild.
They said that he wanted to cut the Nassus.
That's why they got rid of.
Hey, you know, Twitter be going crazy with the bullshit, but they said he wanted to cut him. That's why he really got. That's why they really told him nah.
It really shows you how much Giannis's he has that organization by the balls right now, which is crazy. They're paying 3 coaches right now. Now, and apparently Doc's contract is very lucrative, and apparently he was dirty macking.
Yeah, it's definitely dirty mac.
So it's just a lot going on in the organization, and I don't think that type of shit leads to I don't think that, like, the way this is all come about, that's not a good way to go into the second half of your season into the playoffs.
So like what you gonna do? What you gonna not cut you up? But what you gonna do? You get to the playoffs, you lose second round.
Then it could be like, but like what the okay, Doc, like I get Doc. Everybody loves
Glenn.
Doc. I get that shit, but like, dude,
but that's not who you cut your coach for.
I've never seen a coach ride out one championship for 15 years, longer than that, going on 16 years now ago. He riding the shit on that championship. Pause. Yeah, I ain't trying to hear that shit.
Super pause.
Yeah, but that shit is crazy. Like I get it, but like, dude, his track record speaks for himself.
Hey, but he could say that the egos wasn't there, the minds wasn't right, because I mean, obviously he did have, James Harden. Ain't no secret. He's a coach killer, and the Clippers are having a great season thus far. But at the end of the season, if it don't go the way it goes, there's no telling what happens to Ty Lue. Because I mean, it's just seemingly what happens. But I mean, you wouldn't think that happens, but. Then you have before with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, and we've heard the different stories and rumors, and there's obviously some beef there.
Yeah.
Then following the Celtics, I mean, he got let go from the Celtics, but it wasn't necessarily like they were going through a transition period. It was time.
Different. Yeah.
So different circumstances have happened. Obviously, T-Mac and we all know about the injuries, and he's the most injury-prone player or whatever. His career, he would have been the GOAT if he didn't get injured and whatever other people say. But, no disrespect to T-Mac, but, he's had some situations. So maybe this is the right one. If they're saying that Giannis is bought in, if they're saying that Dame is bought in, because at this point, do we really know that, or can we take their word on that after getting a coach fired?
Yeah, bro. He dirty Mac and they bought in already.
So before we go any further,
games.
Can we define Dirty Mac for the audience? Because it seems like niggas don't know what this is. So do y'all want to define it, or do you want me to define it?
Go ahead.
So dirty macking is basically when you got a little friend, when you got a friend and you trying to set them up for failure. Basically, you going and talking to the other side, talk about. So Doc, in this situation, they said that Doc was being consulted, was consulting Adrian Griffin on how to, I guess, basically handle the season, handle the the personalities, handle all the stuff that he needs to handle to be a good coach. But on the side, he's also talking to the Bucks, and they're kind of vetting him to see if he should be the coach. So Dirty Mackin basically is like, hey, I'm gonna give you this advice to get you fired or get you up out of there so I can slide in your position. So for some niggas think, I don't know what other niggas think it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what folks think Dirty Mackin is, but Speak Up Sports Podcast definition of Dirty Mackin is whatever the hell Doc Rivers got going on.
That shit is crazy though. Like to be a consultant and then midway through, they should have. I don't know. They handled this shit all wrong. That's a very bad look for the Bucks.
They told Doc, you ready to take over? He said, "Yeah, I'm ready to go."
Yeah, I'm ready. But
said, all right,
that's crazy because, like, I mean, I get it probably would have happened regardless too if ESPN didn't even sign Doc, but they changed the whole broadcast team, brought Doc in for him to leave not that's even halfway through the season. Yeah, that's on them for sure. That's but it's just Doc is.
How do you think Dame feels? Because this is somebody that, he said openly many times that he did not want to go to Milwaukee. He wanted to be in Miami. How do you think that looks for him? And do you think that there's more to the story on his side where he's like, maybe, and not trying to say that I didn't read this anywhere, just speculating, just asking questions. Is there a possibility that Dame could have been a little disgruntled and like, yo, I ain't doing that shit? Because we've seen the stuff about Giannis.
Yeah. It's very possible.
I mean, when you say that, that's not where he wanted to be, and it's like, okay, they're gonna try everything in their power to appease him. So if he like, yo, I'm here now. Like, I don't like him as a coach. Like, he's not like whatever he got us doing. I hate it.
That shit ain't gonna work.
Get him out of here. And I could legitimately see that.
I feel like a decision like this would have to come from both of them, Giannis and Dame, because this is a wild. Like, really look at it. Like, this shit is really wild. What just happened to Adrian Griffin? I get like if you don't fuck with your coach, you don't fuck with your coach, but what?
Not even to the All-Star break.
Not even to the All-Star break. Like you need to get to the trade deadline. Let's see what you can get. Let's see what else you can bring in for it. It's interesting.
The fact that we're talking about a 2 seed now. They not fighting.
They're not the Lakers.
They're not the Lakers.
They're not the Lakers.
Seed. These are 2 seed. And you call the coach, nah, you out of here, buddy.
That shit is crazy.
That's nasty. Very nasty. But we'll kind of see how it's shaking out right now. They're beating the Cavs. They're up. The Cavs are on a 9-game win streak right now. So that's a good sign, even though they were already a good team, just to see from the bounce back, because obviously it just happened yesterday. They're coaching with the interim coach right now. Mm-hmm. So good sign for them. I guess thus far, maybe we'll see like them take another step, especially defensively. As we move forward throughout the season, but it also could just be a personnel thing. Like, hey, you guys are just getting older. Chris Middleton, shaky legs.
He's not that guy anymore. Not that
Lopez,
guy.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.